Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Molly Knox, and I'm very pleased to talk with all of you today about how sports, fitness, and LHON can go hand in hand. My connection to LHON is through my dad, John. He's been affected for over 40 years and whom you might have heard speak during the 2017 LHON Journeys panel. During today's presentation, I'm going to discuss a number of sports and fitness options. We'll watch a couple of videos to highlight how certain activities can be adapted for visually impaired folks, and we'll hear from two of our community members on their sports and fitness experiences. Receiving an LHON diagnosis often leads individuals to think that they can no longer participate in sports or other activities due to their vision loss. However, there are many options that those who are visually impaired can pursue to continue staying active and having fun. When looking to stay fit, you can do things in a team setting or on your own. So let's start with some individual options. Many folks with vision loss need to find ways to get fit other than through specific sports. One great way to do so is through the home-based program called Blind Alive. Blind Alive works with men and women who are visually impaired and may be experiencing a lack of access to exercise, and this program helps to make fitness fully accessible within the convenience and privacy of your own home through guided audio files that you can purchase and download. Mel Scott, the founder and herself blind since childhood, works with top instructors to bring health and mobility transformation to the visually impaired community. The specific program that Blind Alive provides is called Eyes Free Fitness. The mission of Eyes Free Fitness is to create top quality, well-described fitness programs for the blind and visually impaired community that are completely accessible. Within the Eyes Free Fitness program, there are different types of exercise that you can do, such as cardio, Pilates, and weightlifting. And sighted folks can participate as well, so it can be a great opportunity to have some fun with a friend or family member. Maria Johnson, who will be speaking a little later in this presentation, knows Mel Scott personally and has arranged for a 50% off promo code to be available for conference attendees who are interested in downloading the Eyes Free Fitness program. The code, I have it up here on the slide, is LHON2018, and it's valid from starting today, June 28th, 2018, until July 28th, 2018. Another great option is blind yoga. Marty Klein, a blind author, workshop leader, and yoga enthusiast, and Gretchen Hein, a certified yoga teacher, combine their knowledge and insights to bring you a dynamic and inspiring introduction to the basics of yoga called Beginning Yoga for the Blind and Visually Impaired. You can download digital files or purchase CDs that include instructions on how to use a yoga mat and other props as guides when you practice, how to do basic stretches and 24 basic yoga poses in a clear, step-by-step manner, and special insights from the visually impaired perspective. At the gym, you can do individual workouts using machinery like the treadmill or elliptical, or you can get involved with weightlifting. Pictured here on the left is Justin Holland, and on the right is Kyle Bowden. Both Justin and Kyle are affected by LHON. Justin is using an erg machine while Kyle is doing some weightlifting. Both Justin and Kyle have YouTube channels that catalog their fitness journeys that you might want to check out. Another option you can pursue at the gym is CrossFit. The CrossFit specialty course in adaptive training is a great way for LHON folks to learn how the program can be adjusted to meet their needs. This course is an interactive single-day event designed to teach trainers and athletes how to make CrossFit accessible for impaired athletes. Through lecture and hands-on practical sessions, participants will learn about adaptive theory and methods, as well as specific strategies for adapting individual movements and entire workouts. Attendees will receive access to additional training resources and education, and the seminar staff and adaptive community will provide ongoing support. There are currently sessions being offered throughout the United States and Canada, so it might be worth checking out if a course is being offered in your area. Before I begin my discussion of various sports and competitive opportunities, I want to first mention the USABA, as it is relevant to a number of different things I'll be talking about today. The United States Association of Blind Athletes, or USABA, provides athletic opportunities in various sports, including many of the sports I'll discuss today, as well as track and field, judo, wrestling, and powerlifting, among others. Anyone can join the USABA email list for free, and beyond that, you can become a member. There are various benefits to becoming a member, including the opportunity to participate in sports camps and clinics, as well as regional and national competitions, liability and secondary medical insurance for USABA events, a calendar of athletic events and conferences for the entire year, contact information for other individuals with similar athletic interests in your area, and access to USABA specific sport listservs. So we'll start with running. Running is a great way to improve and maintain both your physical and mental health. If you're visually impaired, there are some important things that you should keep in mind, as well as a few different options for how you can adapt your running. There are different approaches to running while visually impaired. You can use a tether, a guide, or nothing at all. One way to run is with a sighted guide. United in Stride is an organization aimed at uniting visually impaired runners and sighted guides. Finding the right running partner can be challenging, but also incredibly rewarding, and their goal is to make it easier for you. They've produced a video tutorial on how to run with a sighted guide, so we will watch a quick clip from them.
Runners who are visually impaired can include a wide range, from people who are totally blind to someone who has some degree of usable vision. Either way, communication between the guide and the runner is key. We'll get into verbal cues in a minute, but right now, let's take a look at some tethers and tethering techniques.
Text reads tethers.
Tethers are a very simple way of keeping the runner and the guide in close contact while allowing each one to run comfortably. The material is often a matter of personal preference.
Two tethers of different materials displayed on a table.
A tether can be a length of rope, a shoestring, or a fabric strap of some kind. What all tethers have in common is that they have a loop on both ends. The size of the loop and the length of the tether will vary, but usually it's about 18 inches.
Two men run tethered.
But guiding is not about the strap, it's about what you say. So let's talk about communicating.
Text reads verbal cueing.
When I am out on the road, I am counting on my guide to help me have a safe run. That means I need to know about what's ahead of me. It's going to take some getting used to for you as a guide. How much information does my partner need? How far in advance do they need it? Well, we have a saying, when in doubt, call it out.
When running on a sidewalk, there may be several potential obstacles or hazards that you need to make your partner aware of. The most common issue is stepping on and off curbs.
The 3, 2, 1 countdown method works very well for letting runners know there's a curb coming up and when to step down or up.
Okay, we've got a curb coming up here,
Okay.
down and back up.
Okay.
Down and 2, 1, down
Yep.
and up and 1, up.
Up.
Two women tethered run on a path.
You'll want to call out things like tree roots that push up from the sidewalks or low-hanging branches. Again, give your partner time to prepare by using the countdown method.
Oh, you got a branch, Jack, 2, 1.
Transitions from one type of running surface to another is helpful for me to know about while running. Maybe that's moving from a paved or unpaved surface or running up or down a hill.
Turn to the left onto some gravel and straight. Bumpy here, straight to the left.
So while it can be a great option to run with both a guide and a tether, keep in mind that you don't have to use either if that's not your preference. Some people prefer to just have a running buddy who runs alongside them, providing some verbal cues but without the tether, while others prefer to run solo. It really depends on whatever your preference is. There are a few organizations that support visually impaired runners. So we just watched a clip from United in Stride. This group was founded in 2015 by the Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired and is a tool for uniting visually impaired runners and sighted guides. Through their website, you can connect with both visually impaired runners and sighted guides in your area using their Find a Partner map on their website. A gentleman named Richard Hunter created this group and owns a personal database for connecting blind runners with one another. However, again, it's important to keep in mind that not everybody wants a sighted guide to run with. Achilles International is an organization with chapters in communities throughout the world, including the United States, as pictured here on the slide. And their mission is to enable people with all types of disabilities to participate in mainstream running events in order to promote personal achievement. These chapters include sighted runners who enjoy helping runners with disabilities, such as visual impairment. In addition to going about running in different ways, there are different types of running. Some folks prefer to run just for exercise, while others might be looking to compete. There are many opportunities for competition that embrace visually impaired runners, such as the California International Marathon, or CIM. At the 2016 CIM, the top 3 runners were all affected by LHON, and they're pictured here on the slide. The Boston Marathon also has a special team devoted to visually impaired runners called Team with a Vision, also created by the Massachusetts Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired. Different marathons often have their own divisions for those with visual impairments that you can be a part of. This year, I was able to spectate during part of the Boston Marathon back in April, as I live in Boston. It was a chilly 35 degrees for most of the day with steady torrential rain that also lasted most of the day, but it was still such an exciting and fun experience to spectate. Pictured here are 3 individuals with LHON who ran on the Team with a Vision. At the bottom here is Chaz Davis, who many of you may be familiar with. He's an extremely talented young runner and also a Paralympian. In this photo, he and his guide are being interviewed by CBS Boston about the upcoming race. Unfortunately, I did not catch Chaz on the course as he was far too fast for me. I was able, however, to snap pictures of both Darren Joseph Blanks, who's an amazing runner from the UK, and the incredible Jessica Loomer in the upper right. Darren ran with one guide. He's pictured here in bright red in front of Darren, who's wearing white, and Jessica over here on the right in the black visor was accompanied by 2 guides. Next, I'm going to briefly mention rock climbing. It's another fun athletic option for those who are visually impaired, and we have a quick clip of Sean Sturgis, who is a climber with LHON.
I would say around 21, 22, I got the diagnosis of Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. Athletics was always how I defined myself, playing baseball and football, getting into hockey, doing martial arts. It was just always who I was, and when I lost my sight, I lost who I was. I'm trying to find ways, but climbing is the way that I feel I'm compelled to climb, and it's very therapeutic. Because of being athletic, I feel that I'm able to get back into that realm where I feel comfortable and a way to express myself and be athletic.
Swimming. When it comes to swimming, there are also options for how you can go about it if you're visually impaired. If you decide that you need some assistance with swimming, an individual known as a tapper is positioned at each end of the pool and uses a rod with a firm foam tip to touch or tap the swimmer at the correct moment. While there is no set organization dedicated to blind swimming, the International Blind Sports Association can support your swimming goals, especially if you have an interest in competition. The IBSA supports visually impaired athletes by helping them to get involved in competitions ranging from school sports to elite level championships all the way to the Paralympic Games. The IBSA is a founding member of the International Paralympic Committee. In addition, the American Foundation for the Blind has created valuable tips for swimmers who are blind or visually impaired on their Vision Aware website, which Lissa mentioned in the previous presentation. And again, it's a site dedicated to publishing important information to help those with vision loss to lead an independent life. Bowling can be another great option to have some fun and get some exercise. Some folks may have a friend to help guide them through the game and identify which pins are left over, while others can rely on special guide rails as another option. The American Blind Bowling Association, the ABBA, has enabled blind and visually impaired youths and adults to bowl alongside sighted friends and family since the 1940s. Tournaments are held throughout the calendar year across many locations in North America. This year's tournament, the 71st annual, took place in Las Vegas. In addition, the ABBA has also been involved in developing its sport in other countries. Together with the USABA, bowlers from North America have participated in events hosted by other countries. Efforts are currently being made to establish blind bowling as a recognized sport in the Paralympic Games. Skiing and snowboarding are also great options. A guide can accompany you during both of these winter sports. One way to adapt this experience is to have the guide remain behind the skier, orienting the skier with verbal descriptions and instructions. However, sometimes the guide can go in front, making sure to wear bright colored clothing. Both the visually impaired skier and their guide can wear brightly colored bibs, which not only help both parties to see each other, but also help other skiers and snowboarders to be aware of who is sharing the course, which helps to make the experience safer for everyone. Another option while you're skiing or snowboarding is to invest in a helmet with a built-in microphone, as pictured here on the slide. There are many perks that come with skiing and snowboarding for those who are visually impaired. For example, at certain places, guides can ski for free. In addition, there are free or reduced price events and trainings for visually impaired skiers, and many ski resorts offer special training that are sometimes free of charge. Adaptive Action Sports is an organization that creates opportunities for disabled individuals to get involved in skateboarding and snowboarding, as well as other action sports. This group provides summer sport camps, events, and programs for youth, young adults, and veterans living with physical disabilities. There are also opportunities to ski and snowboard with USABA. Each year, USABA partners with Vermont Adaptive Ski and Sports and Breckenridge Outdoor Education Center to host ski camps for USABA members of all ages and all levels of experience. For example, back in February, they held the 11th annual Winter Ski Festival in Killington, Vermont, and the Winter Ski Camp in Breckenridge, Colorado. These are great examples of how you can not only learn a new sport or continue with a sport you love, but also get the opportunity to travel to some very cool new places. Ski for Light holds an annual week-long cross-country skiing event at a U.S. location that varies from year to year. During this week, participants receive introductory skiing lessons if they are new to the sport, or they're given the chance to improve their skill and technique if they're already familiar. The Ski for Light 2019 annual event will be held from January 27th through February 3rd, 2019. They'll be returning to Granby, Colorado, and skiing along the trails of the Snow Mountain Ranch. If this is something that sparks your interest, additional information, including costs and online applications, will be available during July of this year. Blind golf is a sport that you can do just for fun, for example, on a driving range or locally with a friend or family, or competitively. We'll watch a short video now with Jeremy and Leo Poinsoneau showing how a visually impaired golfer can be assisted, and in this example, they're at the driving range.
Okay, so we've got Jeremy, who is the IBJ World Blind Golf Champion. Hi, Jeremy.
Hey.
And we've got his dad, caddy, and teammate, Leo.
Hi. Caddy, coach, and guide. Leo.
So Leo's going to take us through. Leo and Jeremy are going to take us through how we kind of approach the game of blind golf.
So the first thing is on the tee, explaining what he has in front of him. So it could be like, bunker on the left, water on the right. And I show him, left fairway to right fairway it is. Then we discuss the shot, saying, well, if you play a little fade, I'm going to aim you slightly on the left. I show him when I'm going to aim you right there. Then he lines up. And then I would adjust his alignment. So move a little bit left. There you go. Then I say club face, you're on the heel. So back up a little bit. Okay, you're ready to go. And then as soon as he hits the ball, I just describe the ball flight. You know, you hit it online with a little fade, or you pulled it. So because he doesn't see it, so as soon as he hits it, he wants the information on the ball flight.
Okay, Jeremy, let's see another one.
Yeah, we gotta do that from the top. That was a horrible shot. Alright, but from my perspective, I can't see where the fairway is, so he describes it to me again, right, Dad? Yeah. He describes to me left to right, so I just kind of envision what he's telling me, and then, okay, if he tells me the left side of the fairway, the right side of the fairway, I want to split the fairway. I'm playing a little fade, so we make sure we line up a little left.
Yeah.
And then he'll point at it, so point where am I going right here?
Right there.
Okay, so I'll try to put my chin about where he is, where he's pointing. Okay, so I want to hit it there, get up and line up to where I think he said. I'm lining up to where I think he pointed, and he'll make sure he'll let me know if I go a little more left or right.
You're good?
I'm good there.
Club's good?
Club's good.
And there you go.
Nice. And that's how you play blind golf with the IBGA World Blind Golf Champion.
That's how you hit a tee shot with the. That's how you hit a blind golf tee shot.
There are also opportunities to compete in blind golf if that's something that interests you. The International Blind Golf Association was formed in 1998 to set conditions, sanction, and provide funding for international open blind golf events. Currently, there are 17 member national associations and about 400 registered blind golfers. In addition, there are individual associate members from a further 3 countries. You'll see that we've highlighted associations from a few countries here, including the United States, Canada, Australia, and England and Wales. The IBGA is also involved in a bid to introduce disabled or paragolf into the Paralympics in the future. Each year, 6 or 7 national open championships take place. The United States Blind Golf Association was established in 1953 for the purpose of encouraging and enhancing opportunities for blind and visually impaired golfers to compete in the game of golf. USBGA conducts an annual national tournament in different parts of the country each year, along with several regional events. Full membership is open to men and women who meet a specific set of guidelines ranging from no vision at all to legal blindness or specific field restrictions. Tandem cycling is a great option for those who are visually impaired. The AFB's Vision Aware site has some useful tips for tandem cycling that you can check out if you're looking to get involved. There is a special level of teamwork required within tandem cycling which can strengthen both friendship and rapport between riders. The Blind Stokers Club is a group dedicated to tandem cycling. We'll watch a quick video now from the club to learn a little bit more how tandem cycling works.
Stoker's job is to provide the power, and my personal job is to tell jokes on big uphills and try to make Fred laugh.
The captain's the pilot of the team, and so the captain determines the directions, where we're going to go. And also one of the important things, particularly for new teams, is to call out what's going on. So the captain lets the stoker know, for example, if we're approaching a red light and we'll need to slow down and stop. The captain calls out signals, and then the stoker gives the signals. So for example, if we're turning right, I will tell that to John, and John will give the hand signal.
Signal right.
Joining a cycling group is a great way to get more involved. The Blind Stokers Club, which we just watched a video from, was created by Dave White, who is essentially the go-to guy for tandem cycling. Since 2005, BSC members have pedaled over 200,000 member miles. The birthplace and base camp for the BSC is San Diego, California. However, you can live anywhere and be associated with the club. The club operates by forming teams and conducting rides. Teams are composed of 3 parts: the stoker, the captain, and the tandem bike. In addition, the U.S. Blind Tandem Cycling Connection serves as another resource to connect blind and visually impaired cyclists with sighted cyclists, educate folks about tandem cycling, keep folks up to date on information about cycling clubs, events, and opportunities, and address the various needs of the blind tandem cycling community. They also have a Facebook group that you can join that's frequently updated with tandem news and events. The International Blind Tennis Association regulates the sport of blind tennis internationally. The IBTA held their first blind tennis tournament last year in May 2017 in Spain, and believe that the tournament helped propel the organization's goal forward of eventually making blind tennis an official Paralympic sport. To get involved, you must submit a formal request to the executive committee of the IBTA. Now we'll watch a brief clip from the IBTA, specifically from Blind Sports Victoria, that talks about how blind tennis works.
The rules, they differ a little bit than the normal tennis. So we use a different type of ball. So the ball is more of a sponge ball and it's an audible ball. So there's a bell in there so you can actually hear it. As well with different categories of tennis, blind tennis. So a B3, which I'm in, the category.
Rowing. While there's no established group for visually impaired rowers, the AFB has some good information on how to transition back into rowing if you have become visually impaired. Whether you decide to row on your own or on an ergometer, join an existing adaptive rowing program indoors, or make the leap to start going out on the water with other rowers, you will find that sight is not a necessity for rowing. If you do decide to row on an ergometer, there are some very useful apps that you can use to help guide your erg sessions, such as Erg Data and Erg Buddy. And now we'll talk about Beep Baseball, and I have a quick video overview that we'll watch on how Beep Baseball works.
The game is called Beep Baseball. All players, with the exception of the pitcher, who is not visually impaired, wear blindfolds so those with partial vision don't have an advantage.
You always throw it underhand and you don't throw it overhand like you would a baseball.
There are 6 defenders and only 2 bases. If the batter gets to the base, a padded cylinder that buzzes before the ball is fielded, that's a run. And unlike conventional baseball, batters try to hit pop-ups.
You don't want to do any ground balls because those are going to get scooped up pretty quick.
Sure, the game is a bit different, but if you ask the players, they are not.
I've never let my vision limit me. I've always done what I wanted to do. I control the disability. I don't let it control me.
I realized that I still have an opportunity to keep athletics and sports in my life, so it was amazing.
These 2 teams, the Austin Blackhawks and Bayou City Heat, have finished in the top 8 of the Beep Ball World Series each of the past 4 years. Call them a dynasty, just don't call them handicapped.
We do everything and anything that anybody else could do, with a little modification.
They hear blind baseball and they think, everybody gets a trophy, circles around. I played 5A high school football here in the state of Texas, and this game's a lot more competitive than that.
These players may have lost their sight, but not their desire to compete. Just the sound of a beep speaks volumes for these athletes' love of the game. In Austin, Adam Winkler, KITV Sports.
Since 1976, the National Beep Baseball Association has facilitated and provided an adaptive version of baseball specifically for the blind, low vision, and legally blind. The website lists 34 teams across the United States and a few international teams that you can reach out to directly if you're interested in joining. There's likely to be a team near you. For those of you who know Joe McCormick from Beverly, Massachusetts, he's a leader in the beep baseball world. He's a player on the Boston Renegades team and has found playing for the Renegades to be a wonderful source of exercise, camaraderie, and fulfillment. I spoke with Joe last month, and he mentioned that as someone who had loved playing sports before his vision loss, being able to experience the feeling of being back in the sports world was a feeling so wonderful he could not describe it. He also told me that joining the team has been a great opportunity to consult with team members about how they live and adapt their lives with vision loss. So if anyone's interested in more information about beep baseball, please let me know and I'd be happy to connect you with Joe. In blind ice hockey, all players are legally to fully blind. Those playing offense have higher levels of sight compared to those playing defense, and goalies are totally blind. All players play with an adaptive puck that is bigger and slower than a traditional puck, and it also makes noise. Like many other blind sports, the arena must be silent throughout the game, except for the coaches. And I have a quick video on blind hockey, and we'll see it in action.
Looking at the action on this rink, you might think it's just a normal game. The speed, precision, and accuracy are all there. But subtle changes tell a different story. Other senses take over in this game, as every player on the ice is legally blind. The goalies are completely.
It's incredible. I mean, I'm still in awe of these goalies. They're making pad saves, they're making blocker saves. I mean, it's great, the rule where you have to pass it before you can shoot. probably helps.
David Klink of Ann Arbor has Stargardt's disease and glaucoma that has lowered his vision since his teenage years. But his love for the game is renewed with the creation of this relatively new type of hockey.
The International Blind Ice Hockey Federation was created in 2015 to lead the development of the sport of blind ice hockey, focus on international development and recruitment, and gain inclusion in the Winter Paralympic Games. The IBIHF currently has 2 member countries where the sport of blind ice hockey is played, Canada and the USA, and is focused on recruiting 6 more countries to develop programs in order to have the necessary 8 countries for a World Championships and the opportunity to apply for the Paralympic Games. There are established blind ice hockey programs and teams, but there's always a need to start a new one, especially if there isn't a team in your area. Now we will watch a quick video about goalball and learn how it's played.
With a mask over his eyes, Alex Sundley is learning to play goalball, a game created for the blind.
It's absolutely pitch dark. It is very hard to see, and I'm already losing balance.
Goalball has been a Paralympic sport since 1976. It is played by blind athletes at a high level. But here in a gym at the University of California, Berkeley, the players are both blind and sighted. Professor Derek Van Reenen.
All of a sudden, the tables turn, and people who have always been sighted realize, wow, this is a very different reality.
Judith Lung lost her sight soon after she was born, but she has never lost sight of her desire for equality.
We can also just be as fit and competitive and have as much fun as everyone else.
The rules of goalball are simple. The lines in the court are marked with tape. The ball has bells in it, so players can hear it coming. Spectators have to remain quiet. That includes Van Dyke, Judith's guide dog. Attackers throw the ball, hoping to get it past the opposing team. Defenders try to block the shot with their bodies. When the game is underway, it is hard to tell the blind from the sighted. And that's the point.
Goalball is played exclusively by athletes who are blind or visually impaired. It was invented in 1946 to help rehabilitate veterans who had lost their sight during the Second World War. Goalball made its Paralympic debut in Toronto, Canada in 1976, with the women's event being added at the 1984 Paralympic Games in New York. The first World Championships for goalball were held in Austria in 1978. The International Blind Sports Association governs goalball and holds World Championships every 4 years in between the Paralympic Games. To find a goalball team in your area, you can visit the USABA's website, where there is more information about who to contact in order to find a program or team near you. I'd like to briefly touch on some resources and other athletic opportunities that you might find useful. The sports I've highlighted today are just a few among a long list of sports that you can get involved in regardless of your LHON diagnosis. For information about more sports that you can get involved in, please be sure again to check out Vision Aware's website and specifically their page on sports and exercise with visual impairment, as well as the Encyclopedia of Sports and Recreation for the Blind, which Lissa is holding a copy of in the back. So if you're interested in flipping through that, please feel free to take a look at that, and it's also available for order on Amazon. Many of you may know or have heard of Mark DeMontis from Canada. I think he made a cameo in the last presentation. Mark has been involved in a wide variety of sports and recreational activities over the years, most notably blind ice hockey. However, for a few years, Mark co-hosted a TV show in Canada called Sports Access. In the show, Mark travels across Canada to learn more about accessible sports and events, and he covers everything from soccer to blind curling to snowmobiling. Though the show has wrapped up, episodes are available for free online, and it can be a great resource for folks, especially if you're interested in getting involved in a sport or athletic opportunity, but you're not exactly sure what you want to do. And as a bonus, it is very entertaining. Camp Abilities is a week-long educational sports camp that takes place in the summer for children and teens between the ages of 9 and 19 with visual impairments. This camp is a little different from other camps with visual impairments as it is set up to provide a one-on-one instructional situation for each person. This is a fun summer opportunity for younger folks to learn about how they can be confident participating in a variety of sports with some modifications. The first Camp Abilities was set up in Brockport, New York, but since 1996, staff have been working to set up camps throughout the U.S. and internationally. So if you or someone you know might be interested in participating, there may be one close to you. If you're interested in pursuing a Paralympic journey, the USABA can assist as they are a member of the U.S. Olympic Committee. Many folks in our community are Paralympians. I have a few folks listed and pictured here on the slide who are Paralympians. I mentioned Chaz Davis earlier when discussing the Boston Marathon, and he's, of course, a Paralympic runner from the U.S. Tucker Dupree is a U.S. Paralympic swimmer. Fabrizio Sotil from Italy and Jeremy McClure from Australia are also Paralympic swimmers, and Peter Ryan from Ireland is a Paralympic cycler. Playing sports with a vision impairment can be expensive, especially if you need to travel to participate. Tandem cycles, ski equipment, and snowboards can all be pretty pricey. The Challenged Athletes Foundation is a great route to explore. The CAF runs a grant cycle every year, and you can complete an online application. However, you must have been active in your sport for at least 6 months. There are different types of grants you can apply for: equipment expenses, travel or competition support, or coaching or training support. For example, applying for a grant through the CAF would be a great way to put some money towards a tandem cycle. The CAF Grant Program's 2019 applications will be open September 1st, 2018 through December 1st, 2018. At this time, we'll hear from some folks in the LHON community who have had great success in their sport, whether they've conquered a new or favorite sport, or as they've transitioned into this new life, or they've gone the extra mile and competed. It can be more than just getting to learn a new sport or become more involved in an existing one. It has also provided folks with the opportunity to travel to some cool new places and meet new folks who might also be affected or share similar experiences.
So I'm Zach Turner. I'm from New Jersey, 28 years old, and I was affected a year and a half ago, where, like most of those videos, I was pretty active in sports. Previously to losing my eyesight, I played football, basketball, volleyball, you name it, high school, college. And then about a year and a half ago, I lost my eyesight due to LHON, where immediately I researched for various blind sports, like the ones shown up there. I found and fell in love with Goalball and beat baseball, where I now compete in both. We actually have a few tournaments where we're playing the Boston Renegades in a few weeks here, but both sports, ages on our teams range from as young as age 9 to up to 60 something years old. And what's great about it is not only do you still get that competitive feeling where you're competing, practice, it's a great workout, but you also have that team camaraderie where like they said, you have everyone with minimal eyesight like myself to people who are completely blind, and you get to hear their stories, how they're going through not just playing the sport but through life. And you also get to travel with the team and have that same sports like-minded attitude. So Goalball is great. I play on the New Jersey team. Nationals was just last weekend, and beat baseball, we have a few tournaments coming up, and then we compete in Wisconsin for nationals, where we're playing about 32 teams throughout the U.S. and other teams like Taiwan. So my biggest suggestion is, whether you're looking for a team sport and want that atmosphere where you're playing with other teammates, or you're looking for a sport or just fitness in general to do by yourself, such as running, yoga, fitness, is to try it all. Whatever you think you may be passionate about, even before you lost your eyesight. If there was a sport that you liked and were playing, explore it, try it. People are always open to new ideas. I found that out, and the teams are great, and the ABA-NJ is great as well as a resource as well. So try it out. You'll find out if you like it, if you don't. But I could probably promise that you'll like it if you try it, because the games are intense, competitive, and then afterwards, everyone's always having fun together. So if you have any questions about goalball, baseball, or just fitness in general, you could grab me, ask me, and hopefully I can help you out.
My name is Maria Johnson, and I am a group fitness instructor. It's my other job. And I have been a group fitness instructor for almost 20 years now, and I lost my vision to LH1 5 years ago, and I still to this day teach group fitness classes. Most of my students know that I'm visually impaired, or they don't know, and they still to this day don't know. I've been doing it a long time, so if you're planning on jumping into being a group fitness instructor and you're visually impaired, it might be a little tough, but I've been doing it such a long time that it's just second nature to me. But when I lost my vision, I was teaching 5 days a week, 2 classes a day, sometimes more. I was running a boot camp. And all of a sudden with the vision loss, transportation came to a grinding halt, needless to say. So I had a hard time getting to all the different locations and, the boot camp and everything else. And I finally just kind of had to, reduce the amount of classes, reduce the amount of locations. But I still teach at the original fitness gym that I've been teaching at since day one, and I absolutely love it. I've stuck with that now 3 times a week. Now, I had to fill this other time with what was I going to do? I was used to working out all the time, and all of a sudden now I was like, blind, and I was sitting at home, and what was I going to do? So I knew I had to find more activity. One of the things I used to do a lot was do home workouts when I wasn't at the gym. I was doing, DVDs at home. And as Molly explained, there's i3 Fitness, which is the home workouts. And, they're basically they give you all the visual cues. They don't say like, well, look here, or if you notice her, or do you see how because that's not gonna work. So it's all visual cues. And as she also said, they have bar method, cardio, boot camp, yoga, weight training, that kind of thing. So for sighted or blind, if you want to do it as a family or just yourself, and you can be sighted and use the code. So, anyone can order that with the LH1 2018 code. So I encourage that. They're wonderful programs. So I have taken on doing some of that at home. But then it was, I want to go outside. I used to love going outside and power walking on my own. I'm so used to doing group activities in the gym. I was like, well, I want to be myself. I don't want to be all these people around me. So one of the things I decided to do was to join the Blind Stokers Club, which Molly talked about. It is the Tandem Cycling organization, and I'd never been a cyclist, but I thought, well, it's one way to get outside and one way to get more activity into my life. So I did join, and I was paired up with a captain by Dave White, the founder. He kind of takes you on your first tandem ride. He just showed up at my house with a tandem bike, said, hop on. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how do I do this? So sure enough, he took me right out on the road, the whole deal, and we chatted the whole time, and he realized that I like to talk, and he had to get someone who was willing to listen to me while I was on the bike. So he did pair me with a great guy, Bradley, and I haven't been on the bike in a while. I had some knee surgery, and I haven't really gotten back on, but Bradley and we did a lot of miles together, and he was a great captain, and we did have to learn to work together with him giving me the visuals, me doing hand signals. Half the time I'd forget, and he's like, "Get your hand out." No, yes, it is, and I just would forget. I'd be like, ah. So, but there's an incredible amount of trust. I had to trust him completely, and that he was going to keep me safe and on the road and all of that kind of thing. But he had usually the captains are people who have a lot of experience cycling. So they're not just going to pair you up with some Joe Blow who just decided to ride a bike. So they're very experienced, and they're sharing their passion with those who are blind and visually impaired to help them get back on the bike, or maybe the first time on a bike. And the camaraderie of the group rides is great. You always have someone to talk to. That's great too. They may not like that, but whatever. And like they said, we would be doing these uphill climbs, and I'm back there bitching and moaning about it, and he's like, come on, let's do this. He goes, if you get too tired, we'll stop. And I'm like, okay, at least I have that, right? So we get to the top, I'm like, oh, we're up the top, and I go, oh, I almost asked you to stop, and he goes, oh, we weren't stopping. Oh, we weren't gonna stop. I just told you that just to keep you going. So, you do encourage each other, and you do have a lot of fun. So tandem cycling is great because you always, it's just somebody's sharing their passion of their cycling with you, and getting you back outside and, feeling like you can actually be out there and, doing something that brings activity into your life. Now, if that's not available in your area, you can't get someone to rent a tandem bike with you, you can do other things outside. And the outdoors is available to everyone. Gyms aren't always available, teams aren't always available, but you can get out and power walk or walk. Now, not everyone's a runner. We don't all like to run. So I just held up my hand. I don't like to run. So I love power walking, and I really miss being able to go out and do that on my own. So I wrote a blog about it. It's called Together is Better, Advice for Guiding a Blind Walker, because not everyone likes to run. So I have recruited friends who have, people I used to go walks with even prior, and they're my guides. And we tether. I just use a lanyard. It's like a loop. And, we tether. I tether with them because I tend to wander. And it's like having attached to a toddler. Like, come on, back this way. Don't go off the curb. Here comes a bush or a tree. And the tether, actually, one thing is that you can feel them guide you just with a pull of the tether. So if we're gonna go around a corner or something like that, she can just pull the tether and I know we're going left. I know it sounds like a leash, like a dog. I know it does. But, and yeah, sometimes we joke about that too, but I can tell we're gonna move left, or I can tell that she's pulling me a little bit away from a curb or maybe, a bush that's kind of overgrown or something. So it's a great way to get outside. You don't have to power walk. It could be just a casual, nice stroll on a Sunday afternoon to get some vitamin D, get some air, be outdoors, and it's a great way to catch up with a friend at the same time. Now, if you ask a friend and they don't want to do it, don't be all upset, because not everyone is kind of cut out to be a guide, even guide runners or guiding runners. So, it's probably just particular friends who, really want to do this for you, and they're willing to learn how to guide you, because the verbal cues and the tether does talk itself. But together is definitely better, and that has been really great too, to be able to get back outdoors and get out on those power walks that I used to love to do. So anyone can do that. That doesn't require, a team. Like I said, it doesn't require a whole bunch of equipment. Doesn't require having to get to a gym or like a CrossFit studio or anything like that. It's something you can do right at your own home out the front door. So those are the things that I have brought into my life, along with group fitness, and with so much more. I wish there was some teams around me, because I would love to try some of that stuff. But I want to mention really quickly, she talked about rowing. James Quinnicki, who's from Canada, James has recently got into rowing, and he absolutely loves it. So if anyone wants to know more about rowing, you gotta find James. He's pretty much the tallest guy here. So you'll definitely find James. But I wanted to mention that because he's found that passion and absolutely loves it. So be sure to chat with him if you want to find out more.
Also from Canada.
If you're from Canada, see James.
Thank you very much, Zach and Maria. At this time, if anyone has any questions for either of our speakers, I think we have a mic runner in the back, so feel free to raise your hand. Questions? Okay. Yeah, we have a question over here, I think.
Hi, this is a question for Maria. I used to do power walking, and I guess I can't get into the frame of mind of a tether. Is there any way that you could think of being, while I still have some vision, limited vision, I'm able to see, like, for example, the row of people in front of me at this point, and I could see you on the dais, but as an image. Is there any suggestions you can make, or just don't do it by yourself? Can you think of any suggestions of being able to take on power walking again?
Good question, Howard. I know you've been on our conference calls, right? Yeah, I recognize your voice. Okay, good question. When I did have a little bit more better sight, I would still go out a little bit on my own and do it, but then I would also be with a friend, and I would just use her or 2 friends as a guide. I would just walk kind of a little behind them, but close enough to them where I could still see them and they weren't out of my vision. And that worked for a while, but then it just depends on where you're walking as well. At first, I was super embarrassed to hold a tether. I mean, like everything else, it's a white cane or it's a tether, and I felt like I was being walked. Like they would come over to take the dog for a walk. They would come over and take Maria for a walk. I did feel that way, and I was embarrassed. Thought, what if somebody sees me? How embarrassing is this? They're gonna wonder, what are they doing? So it is something to kind of get your head wrapped around. And now I honestly don't even think about it. I grab the tether and we just go. And I think having that support of someone who's willing to hold the tether with you is big as well. But you could try. I mean, by yourself, it gets to be maybe a safety thing. By yourself, I would recommend a treadmill. But outdoors, I think just for safety reasons, curbs, bushes, roads, crossing streets, it's best to have somebody sighted with you. If, again, I don't know, I think safety first. But eventually, the tether won't mean as much, and you'll find that it's so much easier. You don't have to really think that much. They have to do all the thinking. They're the ones that are like, oh, curbs and this, that, and the other. I just kind of follow her lead, if you will, and listen to what they have to say between us chatting, like the latest and greatest what's going on. So it actually helps me feel safer on my walks, and I don't have to think that much about staying straight or going off the curb, things like that. I remember seeing somebody, this is when I was driving way, way back, and I could see 2 people running way ahead of me, and I thought, that is so weird. They're holding a towel between them. And I was like, what are they doing? I couldn't even imagine. So I got closer and closer and closer. They're holding a towel, they're running, and one of the t-shirts on the back said blind runner. I'm like, oh, good for them, that's nice. Here I am. Holding a tether, I don't hold a towel, obviously, but I hold a tether, a lanyard. But Howard, I hope I've answered your question. It's just one of those things to kind of you have to kind of get through it, like a lot of other adjustments we have to make. And it does make things easier, just like a cane or a guide dog can make things easier to get around without you having to think so hard a lot of the time. So, it is really enjoyable though. Once you get through that, it's really nice.
Any other questions? We have some in the front.
I was just wondering what the flashlight was. I was just wondering about the flashlights. What are they for? The flashlights. Oh. Yeah. Like.
Flashlight ambassadors.
Yeah.
What are the flashlight ambassadors for?
I think Jennifer can answer.
This is Jennifer. I'm one of the flashlights. We are veterans that have been to a few conferences. We're around to help if you have questions where the bathrooms are, what's next, what we're doing. We'll help find answers and get you headed in the right direction.
My son Ethan has just been recently diagnosed, but he said out of all the sports that was mentioned here today, have there been anybody that has come up with a form of basketball for low vision or blind?
That is a great question, and I'm not sure of the answer. I would be delighted to look into that for you.
Lissa is quickly looking it up in her
Lissa
book.
is looking right now at the encyclopedia of sports that I mentioned, and it looks like page 25 in that book has information about it. So feel free to take a look at that. But I'd be happy to do a little bit more searching and see. Thank you for mentioning that, though.
I was just going to suggest, if you really wanted to do power walking and you really didn't want anybody to go with you, the high school track. You know, at least you know, you can see the white lines possibly, and at least, you know it's clear. So if you just go to the high school track, that's what I was thinking, so.
That's great. That's a great idea, Susie. You just have to get there, right? You have to get there. So if you can walk outside your front door, it eliminates that whole transportation issue.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, if you think of any additional questions or anything for Maria or Zach or myself, please feel free to approach any of us. And I'll just end with one final thing to wrap up. I want to make sure to remind everybody to not forget about LHON.org. It really is your best resource for all things LHON. It was recently refreshed and revamped. So it's nice and easy to navigate. Links to a lot of the organizations that I've mentioned today and a lot of other helpful resources are located on the website. So please check that out. All right, thank you very much for your attention.